Hey there, this is K4A, Knowledge for All educational videos and tutorials. In this video today we are going to learn how to use drag and drop block draw line in GameMaker. We are continuing with GameMaker after a long pause, and in next few videos I will explain a couple of drag and drop blocks which will help you draw something on the screen. So because of that, it's maybe smart to create a new room. So I will click on rooms, create a room, and call it here I will call it rename rm underscore draw, because we are going to draw shapes in it, and I will change the width and height to 800 times 600 pixels because we don't need anything bigger than that. So we created the room in which we are going to draw. Then I'm going to click on this home like icon in rooms folder, and then I will drag and drop the room which we just created, the room draw, onto that icon. So that way my room draw is now the one which the game starts with. So when I start my game with this run button, play button, or F5 on my keyboard, my room draw will be started on the screen when the game starts, and that's what I want. So other than that, I have opened the Autodesk sketchbook because I want to explain a couple of things in it, and that would be easier for you to understand how drawing works, because drawing in GameMaker is like some kind of it's trying to mimic, to copy drawing in drawing applications like Sketchbook, Photoshop, and so on. So on a basic level. So just to be clear with that. And yeah, the other thing is okay, let's first start with Sketchbook just to see how it looks when you draw a line in it, and how you can remember some of the basics about it. So here it is, this icon with the draw style line. When I select it, I can draw lines on the screen, and this is what we're going to do in GameMaker also. So straight lines from point A as a start, beginning, to point B as the end of the line, and you can draw them horizontally, vertically, under some angle, and so on, like we are doing here in Autodesk Sketchbook. And I'm going to undo that, and in GameMaker we're going to create something like that, very basic, simple, straight horizontal line. That line has its start here. Oops, I'm still in the line, so I have to deselect it, and then and then I want to point this is start and this is end. So from start to the end, start is mostly called A, and end is called B in mathematics and so on. So we are drawing a line from point A to point B. That's what we are going to do in GameMaker also. But because GameMaker, as Autodesk Sketchbook, as every application on your computer, works in some kind of mathematically defined coordinate system, you will sooner or later face some kind of questions or data which is needed in those softwares. And although some of those softwares, like for example Autodesk Sketchbook, now they don't ask you directly what is the start of your line, what is the coordinate of your point A, what is the coordinate for your point B, GameMaker will. So we are going to explain it here how it goes. Coordinates, as everything in math and everything in computers, they are represented by numbers, and coordinates specifically, they are represented by some kind of so-called coordinate system, which we are going to draw here, which is also represented by two lines. One is horizontal and one is vertical. The horizontal one is called X, and it goes from left to right. The right X is plus, the left, when you go to the left, it's minus. That's in most softwares, but not in all. Sometimes it's opposite. It depends on software to software, and vice versa. The vertical axis is called Y axis, and it goes top to with plus and minus when you go bottom. So on X, for example, this would be 1, this would be 2, so the numbers grow from left to the right. When you go to the right, it's 1, 2, 3, and so on. So for example, this could be, for example, like, I don't know, 15 or 50 or whatever, and vice versa. Y is going 1, 2, 3 when you go to the top, and so on. So what we are interested in here is to find those numbers which are called coordinates for A and B. So this point here and this point here, we want to know X and Y for both of those. Point A, it has the numbers X1 and Y1, and point 2 has coordinates or numbers X2 and Y2, and that is what we want to, this is question mark, that is what we want to find out here. So how do you do that? How do you do that in math? How do you do that in some game programming softwares like GameMaker? I just want to change the color just to make it more easier to see. So it's very simple. When you have coordinate system which is defined in software for you or in mathematics, all you have to do is just point from point A to the bottom to the X position, X coordinate axis, and read the number on it. So in this case it would be 3, and for B it would be somewhere like this. I don't know, that could be maybe 3, 4, 5, oops, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 9 or 10. So X2, the coordinate for my B point is 9, and X1 is, I read it on the X-axis, it's 3. And that's for my X position. Now let's do that for Y. Same approach, only this time we project our points to the left on our vertical axis, and it will be somewhere here. And for the B, same, it will be the same point. Because why? Because both A and B, as you can see, both of those points are on the same height, and that height, for example, can be 4 in our case, because we read that on our Y-axis. So my A point here the start of my line has coordinates of 3 and 4, and my B point or the end of my line has the coordinates of 9 and 4. And these numbers A and B, that is what the GameMaker will ask me for, and that is why I have made this sketch in Autodesk Sketchbook for you, just to understand it easier and faster, although it took us like 10 minutes to do so. This approach will be used for every type of shape you draw in GameMaker. We have created lots of objects here and code for those. I have already forgot, that was a long time ago, so I forgot what we were doing at that time, and no, it doesn't matter, who cares. I'm just testing these blocks now, so I'm going to create new object, and I will call this object something which makes sense, like obj underscore draw underscore line. This object, I will open my room draw, I will open my assets browser, I will click and drag this object draw line into my game. Because it doesn't have any code, when I start it nothing happens. Cool, that's how it's supposed to be. But I'm going to now find the draw line drag and drop block, and before I do that, I want to think about first where do I want to add that, because it's a drag and drop block. It makes most sense to use draw event. There are different draw events, we haven't explained those yet, so pick just pick events, add event, draw. It will create a draw event for us. And now on your right side, click and drag the bar until you find draw. Drawing blocks, here they are, and I need the line which is here, draw line. Click and drag it into your event, zoom if needed, and as you can see, just what I was talking about a few moments ago, we have X and Y, which is the starting point, the coordinates for starting point, that is A in our case, x1 and y1, they call it x and y, and we have x2 and y2 fields, which is B in our case, and we call it also x2 and y2. We can literally take these numbers here and see what will happen, but I think yeah, why not? It will probably be very, very small to see. So let's use 3 and 4 and 9 and 4. x3, y4, x2, 9, y2, 4. Click play and see if we will get some kind of line on the screen. Yeah, there is. As you can see in your top left corner, there is a small line. And it's white and it's very, very small, like a small dot almost, but it's cool, it works. We will make it bigger now and we will change those coordinates, but I hope you understand that what we talked about here works in GameMaker and vice versa. The only difference, and it's a big difference, is what is that my coordinate system in GameMaker begins, I have to hide everything just not to confuse you, and then add new layer. Instead of looking like this in my sketch, coordinate system in GameMaker looks like this. It's like mirrored. So y is still vertical and x is still horizontal, but they are opposite of our coordinate system in terms of this thing here. This is the beginning, this is the 0. I haven't even yeah, I have to make it here also. This is 0 in our case, first case in our first sketch. So you can see that 0 in GameMaker is above and in mathematics it's below. So it's a little bit different, but how you can check it, you don't even have to remember it. All you have to do is just move your mouse left and right and up and down, and you will read the coordinates here in your bottom left corner, how those change. So when I move left and right, you can see how it goes from my left edge is 0 and it goes all the way to the right edge, which is 80. Why is that so? Because my room is 800 pixels wide. Same with up and down. If I go to the top line for my top edge, it will show 0. Yeah, here it is. And if I go to the bottom, it goes bigger and higher until it reaches the 600. Why is that so? Because the height of my room is 600 pixels. That is what we have chosen before. So your coordinates start here in GameMaker in your top left corner. This is, and you can read that this is 0, 0. You have to be very precise. If you, yeah, here it is, 0, 0, top left corner. So my top left corner is 0, 0. If I go to the right, my x coordinate is growing, and if I go to the bottom, my y is growing. So it's a little bit opposite from coordinate system which we used and which is used in mathematics, but as I said, you can always check it just by reading the numbers on your screen in GameMaker. So for the end, what I want to do now, I want my line to start from my left edge. My left edge is 0, so I will type 0 for my first line, and I want that line to start not from the 0, because that would be top corner and that would be very hard to see, but I will type 50 to make it go a little bit lower, like so. For example, if this is the 0, 50 would be somewhere here. So 0 for x and 50 for y. That is the beginning, the first point. And the second point could be, for example, on the same height. So height is y, I want to be the same height, so I type 50 again, and x2, for example, 200. If I want my line to be 200 pixels in length, I press play, and now it will be visible much better. Yeah, so you can see 20 minutes. So we have the line. How to draw more lines, or for example, good idea would be to make some kind of grid, maybe as example, as practice for you. I will just copy my block, paste it, and change the coordinates to create another line, which I want to create a little bit below mine. So mine height is now on 50. I want to go below that, so I will type 100, and because I want that is for my beginning, and for my end I want to be horizontal on the same height, I will type 100, and for my X 200, okay, but yeah, I think this will work. So those two lines would be parallel now, I think. Yeah, so you see how it's easy to create lines in it, and although they are on screen in my game because I create them with code in runtime, they are not visible here in my game scene all the time. Like now when I want to add objects and so on, they are not visible because I create them during my game runtime with my code. It's not created by sprite, by image here. Sprites, no, we created by code, and that is why it's not visible here, but only when the game starts. Those were horizontal. Copy, paste to create one vertical, and this time I will change. I also want to start with my x0 maybe, but y is maybe 50, x0 and y 150. I'm just trying to create something fast. Maybe I made an error, not sure. Yeah, you can see it works. So we have one vertical, and let's make one more vertical. Copy, paste one more vertical line, and this time I want to move it more to the right, so I will type 50 to the x and 50 to the x2 for my end, and I will leave my y at the same place. So now we will have two horizontal and two vertical lines, and we start to create some kind of grid. And we will end here because this is already a bit long, 20 minutes, but I hope you have learned lots of stuff here. And also this was very simple example and not very smart. Because why? Because we have 4 blocks, same blocks here, and very few lines on our screen. So for example, imagine if you want to create a grid which will cover some large area or complete game all the time. It would be like having like 50, 100, 100, 1000 blocks like this, which is crazy, and you will probably make error there. And that is why you use those loops, which I think we have learned before. For loop, for example, you can use that one, and repeat, yeah, for loop or repeat and so on. And that way you can put in for loop, you can put draw as many times as you want horizontally, and then draw as many times as you want vertically. And that way you could save some kind of space here, but also save yourself from making errors. And that is why for loops and other loops are used. Other than that, where are you going to use these lines? This is very, very rare block, at least for me, to use in the games. Maybe you will use it sometimes to create something to test as a testing area or something like that for your game, but for final game I cannot really give you a good example when and how to use it. Maybe, for example, if you make some kind of shooting game, so for example you want to create a line like a ray trace line which goes from your gun to the where the bullet hits the enemy. I'm not sure if Fortnite has that one. When you shoot on the enemy in the Fortnite, I think there is a line showing the where it goes, where the bullet went, for like a split of second, like a blink. So that could be, for example, one example, or maybe for some kind of strategy games where you point and click, and that way give your units order where to move. So you can draw the line for it or something like that. But in general, I think you will use it very, very rare in your games, if at all. I cannot find some good example when and where. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching. See you in next one. Bye for now.